Governor Romney now has the number of delegates needed for the Republican nomination after a victory in Texas last night. But earlier in the week, he was with family on Memorial Day, and I spent some time with him and part of the big Romney family in Southern California, some of the kids, lots of grandchildren, and a country that is just now getting to know him. I asked a lot of people what they would ask you. So what would you say to the governor if you had a chance? And most said they did not know enough about you. Does that surprise you?
Oh, I don't think so at this early stage. We're just beginning a general election. We've gone through a primary. Not a lot of people have focused time on the characteristics of a new candidate like myself. And people will get to know me better. My guess is they're going to get to know more about me than they'd like to by the time we're finished.
A lot of people that have talked to me about that process think that you're a tough guy to crack. Is there truth to that?
It depends on who's asking.
You know, I don't know whether that's the case or not. I think as people get to know me a little better, some will like me, some won't. It's probably the nature of most folks.
Yeah, but what do you think about that?
Well, it's just that he's very private. And the thing that is interesting for me is to see that there are misperceptions out there about how people think they know him. This is why I love having the opportunity to say, this is the narrative that I want, and this is the real narrative and the real person.
And that's part of the process, too, and all that. But you ran a company in 2001, I think, had $12 billion in assets. I mean, what kind of a boss were you?
Well, you have to ask the people who worked with me.
Well, what do you think?
But fortunately...
Were you the first one in the morning? Were you the last one to leave? Did you take 3-hour lunches?
First one in the morning, not long, no lunches, and the last one to leave. I mean, he's the hardest working person I've ever met, besides his father, George Romney, who was a crazy man. But he has so much energy.
Crazy good? Or?
Crazy good. Crazy, unbelievable good. And crazy.
They called my dad the Brick. That was his nickname, the Brick. Just solid, just couldn't penetrate.
What about you as a boss? How would you describe yourself?
Well, again, I'm not the right one to describe that, but I didn't see myself as a boss. I saw myself as someone that would help organize some extraordinary people. And the people that worked at the firm I worked in were exceptionally bright, highly motivated, with extraordinary insights. A number of them better than I on a series of dimensions. And I wasn't always the highest compensated. I was the guy that set the compensation, but I paid other people more than I paid myself because I thought they were doing a better job.
Here you are traveling all over the country, and you're meeting with middle-class families that have been through some kind of trauma over the past 4 years, and they were fighting to stay alive just to get through it. You know, save themselves and their kids from drowning, financially speaking. How do you make a connection to those people?
You know, as I speak to people that are middle America, what I find is that the statistics understate the kind of pain and insecurity that exists in America's homes. I see people who may be employed, but are very concerned they could lose their job at any time.
And back to the connection aspect of this. There will be people, and you know this already, who will look at you as just a successful rich guy.
Like FDR and John F. Kennedy, and there have been plenty of people. This is not
just from 30,000 feet.
But Bill, this is not a nation that divides people based upon whether they've been successful or not. We don't say, oh boy, this person won the lottery and therefore they can't understand me. Or we instead look at people and celebrate their success and their achievement, and we look for people who have the skills we think will make our lives better. The real need in America is to help middle-income families get good jobs with rising incomes and more security, and to help people who are poor come out of poverty and become middle-income.
That from San Diego a few days ago. A bit later today, and again tomorrow, more of my interview with the Romneys on his faith and more on his family, and perhaps a side you have not seen or been introduced to him just yet. If you're looking for policy, that's really not the intention for why we went to California. This is really trying to get to know this man, because he's going to be in your living rooms now for at least the next 6 months and possibly a lot longer after that.
And you look at the likability numbers, which he's had a tough time with to a certain extent. This gives people a window to sort of decide what they think for themselves based on a little bit more understanding of who he is, and it's fascinating. So we're looking forward to the next part.
Cool.